In part 3 of our series through Reconstruction, we're diving into the question, what does God think of me? And a lot of that actually gets molded by how we're treated at church. And Steve, I take issue with that because I'm coming up on starting my 25th year. So whatever you're talking about is my fault. I'm to blame.
I'm glad you were picking up on what I was throwing down.
If there are people
This was the most passive aggressive way of calling you out.
No, but it's we have failed in that so many times because it's almost like we don't really appreciate the how our words and actions really mess with people sometimes because we are supposed to be the representatives of Jesus and follow his words and his actions, and instead we weren't great at that. So thank you for bringing that up. What was one of the main reasons why you felt like this is really important to reconstruct as you deconstruct?
I mean, as we laid out this series, it was kind of like, what are the main things that are pushing people away or have pushed people away or caused people to detox, or what are the things they need to detox from? And I think a lot of times it's us. And I'm not just saying people within the church, but even people in our role. And I think that's one thing we have to be aware of, especially with a sermon like this or a message like this, is we're not going to be perfect. People are going to get hurt by things I say and do. People are going to get hurt by things you say and do. I think, how can we be honest about that, and how can we reconcile with those folks that we do hurt, and what does that look like to take that approach? And then how do we try really, really hard to not repeat those mistakes that we made in the past? And so it just feels necessary to give ourselves this reminder that our goal, if we're really disciples of Jesus, then everything we do needs to, hopefully, is looking a lot like Jesus. Yeah. And I think too often,
versus taking the bumper sticker off our car, or when people talk to you and hey, just tell me a little bit more about yourself. You don't even bring up the fact that you're a Christian. Maybe you'll go I'm a Christ follower, because you don't want to be associated with that, either because you've messed up or other people around us. And
well, I think that's a scary thing too, is because the reality of that is, if people know that we're followers of Jesus Christ, then that adds a whole nother layer of accountability. If that's who we claim to be, then we've got to do our best to look a lot like Jesus.
That's really difficult.
Yeah.
So you talked about how oftentimes people leave the church because they feel judged, right? They don't like the way that they're viewed by Christians. So how can we as a church community begin showing radical acceptance, radical love, radical you belong here for people who are wrestling with faith? Yeah,
I don't think it's something you jump 0 to 60. I mean, hopefully it is. It's something where it's we're accepting. But I think a lot of things you have to do is you have to begin with a surrendered posture. That's there's some things that maybe I don't know for certain. There's some things that I'm wrestling through, or people that things that other people are wrestling through, and how do I just listen to their experience, their perspective? And I think that's where it starts. And from there, I think listening opens the door to empathy and compassion, and actually creates a path toward healing for a lot of different people in the relationships they're in. So I think it's a process, and it's something that we've got to devote ourselves to. None of us, we've talked about this before, none of us take this literally. We all interpret it. And to think that one of my interpretation is absolutely more right than someone else's interpretation is just a prideful approach and a pretty close-fisted approach. And so the best thing would be to go, okay, there's things in here that I don't understand, things that I haven't interpreted the way that other people have. What are those things? How do I wrestle through that? And how do I keep an open-handed approach while I'm listening to someone else's experience with Jesus and with the Holy Spirit in their life? And how do we begin to foster a relationship through that?
And you actually mentioned that being secure in God really helps with that, because then you don't feel so defensive or so apologetic. You're I really got to hang on to this part of...
Well, I think the challenge is a lot of times people hear be secure in God, they're I know all the things and I could defend my faith and I can blah.
Yeah.
Really what being secure in God is admitting that God's in charge and I'm not. And if God's in charge, if God is who I think he is, then he probably knows a lot more than I do. And so to assume that I know everything and have it all figured out kind of puts you on the same level as God, which makes God not much of a God. And so
Interesting.
I think that's an important perspective to take.
There's probably somebody here today who he's in the middle of deconstructing their faith.
Right
there.
Yeah, okay,
right
sorry.
there, right there. Right, look, they're there. They're maybe feeling hurt. They may feel uncertain. What first step would you recommend that they take towards a healthier, more authentic journey with Jesus and with the church?
I have it's challenging to give like a recommendation, because I think the fact that you're here already is a huge first step and shows a lot of bravery and courage. And I think after that, it's if you want to get real risky and vulnerable, then try to connect in community with some other folks that give them the chance to prove what we're talking about, as opposed to maybe some of your past experiences. But I also know that's a risky move. So I'd say the same thing to that person as I would to someone that's like fully connected in a church community, is continue to pour through the words and actions of Jesus and see how that impacts your life. And maybe that'll open the door to more community and more connection down the road.
I love that. And I think I can just say out loud, I'm so proud of our online community, because you will be safe there, and you'll be seen, and you will belong, and you, with whatever you bring from your past or from your hurts or trauma, you can come and feel super at home. So I want to invite you to that. And let me leave you with a question that you can ask yourself. And then also I would encourage you to, the question that Steve ended his message with, that you throw that out to somebody else and say, hey, what about you? How would you answer that about me? Here's the question. Let's put it up on the screen. What do people think about Jesus when they experience me? Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you next time.